Yo, welcome back to an episode of PVT, aka Player versus Team, or Player versus Team, aka PVT. However you spin it. It's your boy, Moolich, your main man, your host. No DJ Michael B tonight. He might be joining us later, depending on how long the show goes, and also Willie might pop up as well. But as you know, it's just your boy tonight. So let's go ahead and get into it. I got the Stanley Cup Finals on right now. It is currently tied. I believe it's 4-4 is the score. Yep, the score is 4-4. Florida Panthers, New Edmonton Oilers. Going in overtime right now. Current series is, I believe, the Oilers lead. The Panthers lead 2-1. So if the Oilers can come back and win this game, it'll be 2-2, I'm assuming, and if the Panthers win this game, it'll be 3-1. Not sure how many hockey fans we got on this here panel or profile or podcast, but hey, we talk about all sports here. Yes, Florida Panthers lead 2-1. So if the New Edmonton Oilers can finish this game out, close the game out, tie it up, then we might have a series. Speaking of finals, we might have a conundrum. We might have a conundrum going on in the NBA. As everybody knows, the Pacers have a 2-1 lead against the OKC Thunder. With last night's game concluding in Indiana. Pull up those scores for you. Give me 1 second. Working with some internet here. All right, so with yesterday's game, final score 116-107. Strong outputs from really the whole squad as far as OKC. Yeah, Chet with 20 points. Kind of an inefficient 20 points if you ask me. 0 for 6 from 3, 6 for 15 from the 2 or from the field. Jay Williams, who a lot of people have been asking to kind of step up and show a little bit more. 26 points, 1 of 2 from 3, 9 of 18 from the field, so not bad. Shea, 24, which is his lowest scoring game in the series so far. 42 minutes, 9 of 20, 1 of 3 from the 3. Lou Dort, 5 of 4 or 4 of 5 from the 3, 4 of 8. So not a lot of shots, but more on the defensive end, obviously. We know the type of defensive player that Lou Dort is. And not really a lot from their bench. We normally see strong showings from Isaiah Hartenstein, the other Jay Williams, Alex Caruso, but not really a lot of strong showings from those guys, which I think honestly attributes to kind of the lure that OKC is. I think that they're a really strong bench team. I think they're a really strong others team. I understand the players that, Shea is. We understand the player that Chet is. But I think with the other guys, the Carusos, the Hardensteins, the Jay Williams, et cetera, I think that that really propels them to a higher standard, especially, or a more competitive team, or a more dangerous team, honestly. But when you look at the bench players, and this is why I always kind of bring up the others, when you look at the bench players, when you look at the others, I think that they're, a lot of the times they get overlooked, they get overglossed with superstar play, obviously, right? When you have a superstars, it's the superstar man league. But I think when you ultimately look at it, the others matter, right? Obviously, when these other guys don't have strong outings or strong games, it reflects on the game. And obviously, when you look at Indiana, the Pacers not have their losing the games that they respectively lost both in the playoffs and in the finals. You can look at the others not having a good game, right? The TJ McConnells of the world, the Obi Toppins of the world, the Ben Mathers of the world, right? But when they win, the Ben Mathers of the world, the Obi Toppins of the world, TJ McConnells of the world, they normally have, good showing. So with just looking at the box score, looking at the bench, looking at the game from yesterday, we have Isaiah Hartenstein play 18 minutes, 4 points. Alex Caruso, 32 minutes, 8 points. got to give a little more offensive output on that. I know the defensive prowess that Alex Caruso is and the defensive energy that he brings, but got to see it on the offensive side as well, especially if you want to win these close games. And then when you look at the Indiana Pacers side, I think this is probably one of the most dangerous basketball-oriented teams that we've seen. As far as a team that plays true team basketball, together, communicate well, defense, offensive sets, etc., etc. It's really easy to point out who is, or it's really not easy to point out who's going to have the big game, right? You got Tyrese Halliburton, 22, 11, 4 of 8 from 3, 9 of 17. Pascal, 21, 8 of 14, right? But then you look at the bench, right? Ben Mathurin, the young guard coming in, 27 points, leading all scorers, right? TJ McConnell, 10 points off the bench. Obi Toppin with a smooth 8, right? Which I think playing 28 minutes, going to need more from you, Obi. But I think when you look at the others, they matter, right? And I think a lot of teams or a lot of people tend to gloss over just how important they are, right? And I always kind of attribute to the trading of Alex Caruso, KCP from the Lakers, and the trading or the release of Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. Trade away your others, and you rely on your quote unquote your stars. Well, you're putting a lot more stress and strenuous on your stars, and I think a lot of the times the others are the reasons why a lot of teams win, because when where the stars can't step, the others can. You know what I mean? So where the stars may not excel, the others excel. So I think a lot of the times the others are important, and we see it kind of showing up in these playoffs and in these series, which brings me to my next point. I think have been thoroughly entertaining. I understand the vitriol, right? I understand the energy that a lot of people are coming with when it comes to the NBA and the NBA Finals, right? A lot of people are questioning Adam Silver and the NBA's market team, advertising team when it comes to the finals, because there's really not any, I guess, heavy pouring attention to the finals, right? Like you don't really see a lot of heavy commercials, right? There's not a lot of flashbacks or commercials that dealt with past finals that are advertising for the finals. The jerseys are different. The courts are different. It's just the energy around the finals feels different. And I don't think it's fair, right? I think a lot of the times when these finals are, I guess you could say, star oriented, you see a lot of different energy. You see a lot of guys, or you see a lot of the time the NBA goes all out, right? It's an event, the courts change, the uniform changes. They got the pregame and this, that, all the stuff like that, and you can actually feel the environment of the finals. This year, it's not like that, and I feel like it's because we have two relatively smaller market teams that are in the finals that are probably when one of them is going to be NBA champions for the first time or the first time in a long time. It kind of puts a precedent on the league to kind of sit this one out and take a back seat. But I think this is a time where you go as harder than ever, right? Adam Silver went viral for his comments on the NBA and the NFL and how it's compared and two small market teams. But I think at the same time, like when it's two small market teams, even in the NFL, they do a good job of boasting it. They do a good job of marketing and advertising it, right? So like even on the Thursday Night Football, which everybody is always complained about, the numbers are still high. The numbers are still what they are. People still tune in and watch Thursday Night Football, even if the matchup is horrible or if the matchup is boring, because of the advertising that goes into the game, right? And a lot of the times, even if the matchup is quote unquote boring, we may have a crazy fire game. You know what I mean? Because everybody's watching, and the NFL did its ample duty to post about to advertise this game. So I think the NBA is kind of dropping the ball here. The marketing team, the advertising team, the PR team, they're kind of dropping the ball here, right? No court changes, no logos, no real big deal about the finals, no super crazy commercials. Like there's none of that. right? And I think that's not necessarily fair to these small market teams. I think this is the time where you pour into these teams, you pour into the environment of the finals, you pour into, these two respective teams and changing their courts and updating their uniforms and uh, whatever the case may be, right? Because if you want the numbers to come back, if you want the, I guess the energy, if you want the what the finals or the finals to return to what it was, then you got to do something, right? And I think kind of just sitting back on your hands isn't necessarily the right move, just me. But I guess we'll see going forward. They did kind of roll out the new All Star format. Not really too sure how that's going to go. The NBA versus the world, or NBA America versus NBA Europe, however they want to classify it as. Don't really know how that's going to go. We did suggest that on Basket to Basket and PBT on prior shows, so maybe that is more of an incentive to um, get the players to take All Star Week seriously. But with the talk surrounding the finals, with the talk surrounding NBA All Star Week and off season and Kevin Durant and Giannis. A lot of guys are talking about Michael B. A lot of guys are talking about past players, right? You got the Jeff Teagues, you got the Brandon Jennings, the Gilbert Arenas, the Richard McCants. They're all talking about coulda, shoulda, woulda, what I would have did, what I can do, who I will beat in the 1-on-1, et cetera, right? And with the recent events with Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson and their 1-on-1 and how that was put on and everybody tuned in and watched that and it was a really big deal and they put money on it, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's kind of where basketball fans are trending to, right? I think where we're at now when it comes to NBA is we're at a split generationally, right? We got the OGs or the people that grew up in the OG era that are hanging on to the older, kind of more traditional way of basketball, and you got the younger guys, the new school, kind of the more progressive, evolutionary brand of basketball that are trying to expand and spread their wings and branch out to different opportunities when it comes to basketball and how it's being viewed. One-on-one basketball, the ball is life. Over time, YouTube basketball is really big, especially when it comes to pickup games, street games, just true basketball to the point where there's not a lot of outside influence, right? Brands, there's not a lot of outside deals. There's not a lot of outside noise that can contribute to the one-on-ones. It's just two guys that are hungry and they want to get on the court and play for not only money but pride, right? There's a lot of guys that talk about it, but don't necessarily be about it. So I think when it comes to the younger generation, they like to see a lot of the one-on-ones. They like to see a lot of the pickup games. They like to see a lot of the star v star to see who's better, because that goes into a lot of the debates now, right? That goes into a lot of the topics that a lot of these young kids are talking about when it comes to rankings and when it comes to overall status and all-time ranking status and stuff like that. So they want to see the drama that comes with the one-on-one, right? Drama sells, right? Controversy sells, and they want to see the controversy. They want to see the drama behind, a one-on-one battle. So with the Michael Beasley and the Lance Stevenson, the reason why that does numbers, the reason why everybody's tuned into that is because the drama into it, right? The play up into it, right? The advertisement into it, right? These guys are talking back and forth, right? They coach in a respective league together, so they're always, yapping, chirping at each other back and forth, or whatever the case may be. The advertisement that they put up, the videos that they're dropping, Michael Beasley saying some crazy things, Lance Stevenson just kind of sitting back, chilling, being nonchalant, right? Like that's the things that these kids are, watching and looking at, not only on YouTube, but on television, right? Mainly on YouTube, because we understand the platform that YouTube is, but that is what they're kind of looking for, kind of you got the outside crowd and Lance is pushing on a dude from the outside crowd, and his entourage is getting hyped up, their entourage is getting hyped up, and like that's the thing, that's what is getting these young kids going. It's not the traditional 5-on-5 and the East versus West, and these we're playing to see who has a better conference. I just don't think the kids care about that. Us, the guys who maybe grew up in the more OG era, or the guys that are of older stature. Of course, we appreciate the traditional basketball. We want a lot of guys that I talk to are my age or older want the East and West back, and they're sick of the pick'ems and the draft, and they just kind of want just regular basketball, East and West, who has the best conference. But a lot of the young guys, right? A lot of the young fans, they want the 1v1s, they want the drama, they want the controversy, they want it getting so heated that it's coming to blows, right? So I think when it comes to the NBA, when it comes to All-Star, when it comes to finals, there has to be a healthy medium. And I think they're kind of trending in the right direction, if you kind of ask me, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. But when it comes to the smaller markets, when it comes to events and time periods where athletes are known to maybe take a break, or known to probably take days off, like that is where you kind of got to draw up the competition and make it kind of mean something, right? Because I think a lot of people are done with the basic dunk contest, right? As exciting as it's always been, 3-point contest, right? And I think they were onto something when you had the Sabrina Ionescu versus the Steph Currys, right? Like, let's start incorporating the women's. You know what I mean? There's a lot of talk always, oh, well, women can beat men in basketball. Women can do this in one-on-ones, and let's start making that happen, right? Let's start bringing up the competition that everybody kind of wants to see, that people may be interested in, and they may roast it. They may talk their, talk their shit. But at the end of the day, they're going to watch it because it's going to be entertaining and they are interested at the end of the day. So, instead of the dunk contest, the whole All-Star weekend, we can do true like a one-on-one competition battle, right? I know a lot of people are saying, tap in with Ice Cube and, see what ideas he has for All-Star weekend, see if he can go and incorporate the big three, or, whatever the case may be, right? The ideas are limitless, but let's start to get some new, fresh ideas, because we have a lot of new, fresh fans that want to see some different things. And I think a lot of the times traditional gets pushed a lot, and a lot of these young guys are moving past traditional. They are wanting to see and experience different things, kind of for the first time, kind of like how we did. And if for this generation, they can say that they kind of innovated or started the one-on-one All-Star or whatever the case may be, hey, I'm here for it. Staying on basketball, KD has obviously been in the news, right? KD, along with Giannis, has been in the news for multitude of reasons, but a lot of talk surrounding Kevin Durant and his future team, I guess, if you want to put it in that sense. Reports coming out today that he would prefer to be traded to the Spurs, which is an interesting destination, if I say so, right? You got Stephon Castle there, De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, you got Victor Wembanyama, so you add Kevin Durant to that dynamic. I'm kind of confused as to how that all fits and how that all works, honestly. But if it does happen, I think that's definitely a big move for San Antonio. I don't necessarily see how that plays into, I guess, them being competitive for a championship, but because, like I said earlier, the others do matter. So, who they surround these guys with, right? And also the bench and the coaches, obviously going to matter, right? And how long is De'Aaron going to be there, right? What are you going to get out of Stephon Castle in year 2? Is Victor Wembanyama going to be able to stay healthy for a whole season, right? Like, these are the questions that you have to ask when you have these kind of, moves in question. So it'd be interesting to see where Kevin Durant ultimately ends up. Does he stay in the West? Does he go back to does he go back to the East? Maybe Dallas works out something to where he rejoins Kyrie. Maybe we end up seeing something crazy and him and Giannis end up on the same team. You never know, right? Especially with the NBA. So we'll definitely keep eyes on that just to see how that kind of goes on and plays out. The Knicks have requested interviews with the plethora of coaches and have thoroughly been denied. Um, it's interesting to me that the Knicks have requested to interview so many people um, that it's it's interesting to me that the Knicks. Sorry about that. It's interesting to me that the Knicks have requested to interview so many coaches that already have jobs. Um, what I find interesting is why so many people are denying the Knicks. Um, I've always kind of found it interesting. I thought that that would probably be more of an enticing job to take, right? I think when you hear New York, when you hear the Knicks, a lot of people would jump at the opportunity um, to take that job, but apparently not. Apparently, um, a lot of guys, i.e., coaches, i.e., organizations, don't want to let go of their coach. Understandably so, right? The Jason Kidds of the world, the Ime Udokas of the world, the Chris Finches of the world. These guys have produced successful teams. So when it comes to, obviously when it comes to that, um, the Knicks would like to be a part of that, right? Even though they had a relatively successful coach in Tom Thibodeau, maybe they feel like these other guys can, take them over the hump. But when you look at the recent coaching hires in the NBA, a lot of guys or a lot of teams, a lot of programs are going towards assisting coaches from other programs. So when you look at JB, when you look at Chris Finch, when you look at Mark Daigneault, um, even when you look at damn, I forget his name from the current Cleveland coach, coming from the Brooklyn staff, being a head coach in that regard, but then obviously getting fired and then coming back and being an assistant coach and then getting another job as a head coach. So I just find it interesting that the Knicks are going after coaches that they know are successful instead of, I guess, pursuing a more younger coach or pursuing a coach that may have been part of a championship pedigree, I guess, right? And may have things to kind of prove in the league, right? Or even a coach that was employed with the team for maybe a short amount of time, didn't really get an opportunity to really prove himself, and might just needed to change the scenery. Um, so I think trying to interview coaches that actively have a job is, to me, it's a little crazy. I get it, I understand it, but to me, I would more than likely start to look into the pools of assistant coaches of these respective coaches, right? Like if you're gonna go with the Ime Udokas, right, then look in the Rockets assistant coaching staff, right? If you're gonna go with the Chris Finches, then look at the Minnesota assistant coaching staff, right? If you're gonna go with the Warriors, then look at the Warriors, coaching staff, right? And et cetera, et cetera. Because I think that is kind of where the money lies right now. I think that's where the gems are when it comes to coaching, when it comes to new coaching, when it comes to finding that guy that's gonna give you a kind of new or innovative way to get over the hump. I think it's in the assistant coaches. I think it's in the young guys. I don't think it's in the necessarily in the legends that um, have been a part of our game and gave our game something that obviously we can't forget. I think it's in the young guys that have something new to offer to the game, right? Because like I said earlier, there's a lot of new young fans that look at the game in a different way and expect to view the game in a different way. And I think these younger coaches, some being former players, some being just young guys that have been around the game of basketball for a long time, can give us kind of a different perspective and different experience and different feel for basketball and kind of give us a new flavor that we haven't necessarily seen. So this coaching carousel for the Knicks is going to be interesting to see. We're going to be um, monitoring that closely. I do think, however, it's going to be interesting and it's going to be hard to necessarily find a good coach for the Knicks because I don't think any guy that's really established is going to want to take that job, mainly because of the attention that comes with it, I guess, right? Because we understand the market that New York is, right? They haven't won in a while, but they're still a really huge market. So I don't think that they would necessarily attract or legendary or more of a seasoned head coach just because of the type of market it is. But at the same time, I think that is what's going to hurt him in trying to get a younger coach, right? I think this is why the next coaching job is so interesting and why it might be one of the hardest jobs to fill because of the market New York is. We understand the type of market that New York is. We understand that the type of atmosphere that New York is, the fans that New York has. So when it comes to a legendary coach, obviously they're going to expect more. They're going to expect a lot from a legendary coach. They're going to expect a lot from a Hall of Fame coach to take them to the promised land, right? But when it comes to a younger coach, they're going to expect a young coach to kind of fill the shoes of a legendary coach or fill the shoes of a Tom Thibodeau or maybe a coach that came before him just because of the market of New York. So I think the New York coach watch is probably going to be one of the most interesting or entertaining because it's going to be difficult to fill that spot. A lot of guys aren't going to want to be so ready and willing to step in and jump into that spot, mainly because of the market that New York is and all of the attention, both wanted and unwanted, that that team or that fan base may bring. So, like I said, definitely keep an eye on that. Definitely keep a close lookout on that. We'll see how that goes. NHL update hockey. The Florida Panthers. We have a lot of defeated looking Florida Panthers fans right now. The Edmonton Oilers finish up this game. They actually win this game in overtime, 5-4. The series is now tied 2-2. Interesting series. Hockey is one of the sports where I think it kind of gets overlooked. Really entertaining sport, especially once you kind of pay attention, you kind of get into it. The fights, the contact, the scoring, the rules, the energy. I'm not gonna lie, it's great. So definitely gonna keep my eye on this one. See how this series finishes up. See if the Florida Panthers can, I think, repeat because I believe they won last year as well. But before we get out of here, not going to be too long of a show. Just kind of wanted to go over some things about the finals and this coaching thing in the NBA, along with the NBA dropping the ball on advertisement of the finals. But the Shamar Stewart situation with the Bengals is interesting, right? Because a lot of people have their opinions, right? Respectfully so. And is he a diva? Is he, is he right in his situation? Right? Like, what's the deal? But I know there's a lot of people who don't really know exactly what the hell is going on. Shamar Stewart, the Bengals 17th pick in this year's draft, is refusing to sign his contract because of the language, right? It's not really about money. It's really about the language in the contract, right? So the language isn't the same as first-round draft picks before, and that's all he wants is the language change, and he'll sign the contract. Like, a lot of people have it misconstrued that it's about money and him wanting more money when that's not the case at all. It's about the language in the contract, and he wants the language to mimic the language that was in other first-round draft picks contracts. That's quite literally that simple, and he feels like he shouldn't have to sign a contract until the language is changed, because this is the first time that the Bengals have done this in a while, or really ever, which I definitely feel him. I understand, right? I guess the language in the contract is the Bengals are able to void his contract without pay, or void his guarantee without pay, barring certain situations. And he feels like that's unfair because that's never been in any rookie contract before. So basically saying, like, if he gets hurt, if he was to request a trade, if he was to sit out again for a contract extension, then they don't have to pay him, right? Which of course, isn't the norm, because normally when things like that happen, these guys still get their guaranteed money. But with that, is the Bengals basically saying, yeah, no, we're not going to give you your guaranteed money, and we're going to probably hold out, depending on the situation. Which doesn't surprise me, of the Bengals being cheap, looking at the whole Trey Hendrickson situation. You got the league leader in sacks still sitting there waiting to get a contract. Could have him in practice, could have him in OTAs, could have him working, getting reps. But he's at home, or not really at home, but you guys get it. He's at home just waiting for the contract to get worked out. Like I said, I think Shamar is valid. I don't think he should practice or should play without the proper wording, the proper verbiage. I think his agent or his lawyer or whoever is, guiding that young man is doing a very good job, because his contract should mimic, those that came before him. I don't think that he should take a pass or he should lay down, because that kind of sets a precedent for other people in the future, right? That sets a precedent for what the Bengals are able to do to other people in the future. So I do think that he's on the right track. And the interesting thing about this is, because he hasn't signed a contract and because he technically hasn't practiced yet, he's been to OTAs. It's not a true holdout, right? He's been to OTAs. He's been on the field. He's been in meetings. He's studying the plays. He just hasn't practiced, right? He hasn't done anything physical. Which I guess in his case, because he hasn't signed a contract, because he hasn't done anything physical, works out for him. Because if he doesn't play this season, right, he does decide to do a full, sit out, he's able to re-enter the NFL draft next year and get drafted by a whole new team. So the ball is really in the Bengals' court at this point, right? Like, you can, I guess, play with somebody until you can't, right? And, Shamar, he's one of those kids to where he's smart. He's going to take his future into his own hands. He understands his worth. He understands his talent. He understands when, somebody that's trying to, play him or get over on him. He has a really good team in his background, I'm assuming, because he hasn't signed a contract yet. And he's playing this smart. So if the Bengals don't play ball, then he's able to enter the draft again and get drafted by another team and not have to worry about it. Kind of like the Eli Manning situation, but just a little different, because Eli kind of forced his way to be traded to a different team. Shamar wouldn't be traded to a different team. He would literally just forego the entire process and then re-enter the draft next year, which would be interesting. I don't think that we've ever seen that. At least I've never seen that in my lifetime. So that'll definitely be a first for me. But shout out to Shamar Stewart. Keep doing what you're doing. I think that the contract should mimic the same verbiage as everybody else's. So if you feel like it's not fair, then hey, it's not fair. And like I said, obviously that man has got some smart people in his corner, guiding him in the right ways. That is really all I have for y'all today. I really didn't have a lot. Like I said, not going to be too long of a show. Not going to take up too much of your time. No DJ Micah B tonight. No Willie. Stay tuned. Stay tuned though. PVT is going through some a little reconstruction period. We're going to be rolling out something new for you guys. It's going to be kind of basically an entire new show. I'm not going to lie to you guys. New rebranding, new advertisement, new name, new subject matters. Definitely going to still be around sports, but we're going to broaden our horizons a little bit more and talk about some things that may not be talked about or may not have a light shined on them in this world, or may not be talked about on other platforms of podcasts. Trying to bring the people what they want, right? Just trying to broaden our horizons, spread our wings a little bit, as I said earlier, and see if we can make something jump. So make sure you guys keep tuning in, keep rocking with us. May not be the same old PVT no more, but you'll still see the same old move with some extra guests. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you tune in to Inside the Huddle tomorrow. Me and Mel right back here, 7 o'clock, talking that football. Got the UFL championship coming up. So that's going to be definitely a hot topic. A lot of training camp news, a lot of mini camp news. Obviously, Shamar Stewart in the news for, a lot of reasons. basket on Monday. Gentlemen's Talk. If you missed part 2 of the round of 32, make sure you tune in. Go to YouTube. Videos up. Also, that is a Father's Day episode, so make sure you guys tune into that. We will have our men's mental health episode very soon, so tune into that, and then we'll be back with, may not be PVT, but it may be under a new name, so make sure you guys tune in. Like and comment, subscribe, share our clips, man. Leave comments, show love, and we'll do the same. We'll reciprocate. We always appreciate. If you guys want to be a guest, please don't hesitate to ask. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, etc. We are on all platforms. Just make sure that you hit From the Sideline podcast, all one word. Other than that, man, you guys have a great night.